Stephen Colbert's show has been canceled. It's great. Great news, is it not?
This is incredible on so many levels, and I'm going to call him on this.
I love how they claimed it's a financial reason, but everything is a financial reason, right? If you open up a restaurant, you serve lousy food, people stop coming, you close it, you don't say because the food sucked. You said, well, it was a financial reason. But they didn't just they didn't cancel his show. They canceled the whole show.
Yeah.
This was a quote institution, and they said rather than put somebody in his place, they just said we're closing shop. I mean, imagine being a chef. You know, you're such a bad chef that they cancel food.
When Stephen Colbert's show started slipping, Megyn Kelly and Greg Gutfeld didn't just react; they jumped right in. With sharp jokes and no filter, they picked apart his fading momentum like it was fair game. The forced laughs, the preachy monologues, and the awkward skits were all called out for what they seemed to be, empty noise. This wasn't just a roast. It felt like a faux breakdown of his career. Colbert didn't step away quietly. He was pulled off stage, one sarcastic jab at a time.
Matt Bellany, founding partner of Puck News and formerly Hollywood Reporter. The timing and optics, he says, are terrible for the Colbert cancellation. Not true, not true, not true. The timing and optics are perfect. Only leftists think that the timing and optics are terrible because they think somehow this was retaliatory because Stephen Colbert was ripping on CBS for entering into that $16 million settlement with Donald Trump, who was suing them over the 60 Minutes Kamala Harris interview and the edited clips, claiming it was a deceptive practice under Texas law.
It's amazing. I mean, I guess he's less popular than Shingles, but you get this, it's so obvious. You can't do a comedy show and a sermon at the same time. Your job is to say something funny, not being the show that says, that's not funny, about all the things that are just too grim to talk about.
Stephen Colbert's cancellation didn't come out of nowhere. It felt like something that was bound to happen sooner or later. The only surprise is how long it took for network executives to see that the spark was gone. The jokes were wearing thin, and the show was running more on attitude than actual humor. You might get energy from confidence, but it can't carry a late-night show forever. For years, he leaned more into commentary than comedy, often recycling the same kind of material people had already seen online. And now, at last, the curtain falls on what became a long-running, often eye-roll-inducing stretch of late-night TV.
Yeah, I share your feelings. It's not just the end of our show, but it's the end of the Late Show on CBS. I'm not being replaced. This is all just going away. And I do want to say that the folks at CBS have been great partners. I'm so grateful to the Tiffany Network for giving me this chair and this beautiful theater to call home. And of course, I'm grateful to you, the audience, who have joined us.
Megyn Kelly didn't just sit back and watch this mess play out. She came ready with notes, sharp takes, and zero patience. Watching her break down Stephen Colbert's run felt like a tough cross-examination, where the answers just weren't holding up. She went through his track record piece by piece, like a teacher reviewing work that clearly missed the mark. And by the end, it felt less like a passing review and more like a clear fail, with only a token nod for effort.
Here's Stephen Colbert grappling with that news.
Now, if, like me, you're wondering why the Department of Energy is the one making this judgment, it's because that agency oversees a network of U.S. national laboratories, some of which conduct advanced biological research. No. Bad energy department. No biolabs until you finish building your electric car charging station.
Greg Gutfeld, on the other hand, didn't come to critique. He came to finish it. If Megyn Kelly was methodical, Gutfeld was explosive. He treated Stephen Colbert's cancellation like a demolition show, enjoying every moment as the cracks in Colbert's image started to show. This is someone who watched him try to outdo even the simplest jokes and fall flat more than once. Gutfeld's reaction wasn't shock. It felt like something he'd been expecting for a long time. More like a sense of finally, after watching the same routine play out again and again.
No, here's a sample of what his show looked like in recent months. And this, I would submit to you, is why Stephen Colbert's show is no more.
Going
Top
on in
five.
LA reminds us that as citizens, it is crucial to speak out against Trump's fascist impulses, his rampant corruption, and his egregious violations of our norms and our laws. The last time a president bypassed a governor to send in the National Guard was 1965, when LBJ used troops to protect civil rights demonstrators in Alabama. So we've come full circle. Troops were deployed to protect protesters by Lyndon B. Johnson, and now they're being used to threaten protesters.
Stephen Colbert's comedy slide has been building for over 10 years. There was a time when he was genuinely sharp. His Comedy Central days were full of edge, clever satire, and jokes that actually landed without feeling forced. But when he moved to late night, he did what a lot of mid-career stars dream of. He traded his bite for broad appeal. Slowly, the show turned into one long, heavy sigh. If self-righteousness ever came with a laugh track, it would have been the Stephen Colbert Show.
Oh, hey, everybody. We got a great show for you tonight. Senator Adam Schiff was my guest. We harmonized on 7 Bridges Road. What a voice. I cried. But before we start the show, I want to let you know something that I found out just last night. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show.
He didn't tell jokes, he managed applause. Every monologue felt like a moral TED Talk with bad lighting and an audience clapping like they'd wandered in from a Whole Foods tour. People didn't laugh because it was funny, they laughed because they agreed. That's not comedy, it's group therapy with commercial breaks. Megyn Kelly cut through it all with the precision of a surgeon and the satisfaction of someone who never bought the hype. She made it clear, Stephen Colbert wasn't canceled by some political plot. He got the axe because he couldn't carry a show without leaning on every cliche in the progressive late-night playbook. You know the type. Sneering at the middle class, mocking Walmart shoppers, and clutching pearls at every Supreme Court ruling like it personally ruined their brunch.
I'm not happy about the fight, but I'm just saying I'm not like sad and all these people are like forlorn over. It's like, all right, grow up. They're having a dispute. It was bound to happen. They'll get past it. As you point out, Trump is extremely forgiving, and I'm sure Elon is too. I mean, Trump's not... Whatever. Laura Ingraham reported last night she's been told it's irreparable. Nothing is irreparable with Donald Trump. Nothing is irreparable. But here's how the late night losers were making fun of it.
Elon gave us a fun one. Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT.
Greg Gutfeld didn't even need to work hard. He just played a highlight reel of Stephen Colbert's biggest flops. The vaccine dance sketch, the comedy cement shoes, and the fake presidential addresses were all written by someone who thought satire meant reading headlines with jazz hands. And the interviews, oh, the interviews. You'd get more energy from a car dealership balloon guy. Watching Colbert talk to celebrities was like someone reciting Wikipedia while blinking for help in Morse code. Then there was the desk, wielded like a pulpit. Somewhere along the way, Stephen stopped being a comedian and became an oracle. The type with a Harvard degree and a chip on his shoulder for anyone wearing an American flag pin seriously. His humor wasn't about laughs, it was about nodding along while gritting your teeth. Every punchline felt like an essay title, ending in awkward chuckles and applause from people who genuinely thought laughing counted as activism.
It's the dust. You know, we beat all these guys, my show, and we're only in 61 million homes. CBS reaches nearly 300 million Americans. They don't talk about that. He also had 200 staffers. I employ nothing but teenage runaways. And by the way, I don't even pay them.
Megyn Kelly tore into Stephen with surgical sarcasm, showing how he'd turned into a personality vacuum, an echo chamber disguised as entertainment. She didn't just laugh at his cancellation. She analyzed it like a case study in what happens when agreement is mistaken for talent, and once that agreement faded, so did the applause. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld turned Stephen's career into a tragic comedy, a man who started mocking the establishment only to become its most boring background screensaver. His show felt like airport CNN, there, but nobody really paying attention. Gutfeld joked that trying to get a laugh from Stephen was like using a fire extinguisher. It makes noise but doesn't put out flames. Ratings sank below sea level despite bigger budgets, bigger guests, more props, and even a dancing syringe, and viewers drifted away like concert-goers leaving a show where the headliner read bumper stickers off a Prius. The one question no one asked, is this still funny? Because for years, the answer was a loud, unanimous no.
Would you look at this?
There are quite a few billionaires who support you. You are from Northern California, after all, where they grow them in fields out there. Who's your favorite billionaire? Because we all have a favorite billionaire. On three. 1, 2, 3. Oprah. I'm sorry. I claimed Oprah. You can't take her now.
What's happened to him is what happens to virtually every news personality and late night personality and host of popular shows, podcasts, etc., which is they start getting invited to parties with Jen.
Megyn Kelly didn't just make jokes, she tore apart the entire late night formula. The fake laughs, the scripted interviews, the virtue signaling pretending to be spontaneity. She called out what everyone sensed but few dared to say. Stephen wasn't entertaining, he was predictable. In comedy, predictability is a death sentence. He was like a magician with only one trick. And by year 6, even the rabbit had a union and a therapist. Greg Gutfeld watched it all with glee. Stephen's downfall wasn't sudden, it was slow, painful, and public. Like a building collapsing on live TV. Ratings sank, viewers left, advertisers abandoned the slot. And through it all, Colbert just smiled, shrugged, and doubled down on the same smug, stiff humor that had gotten him there. About as funny as a TED Talk on tax reform.
Costs more than $100 million a year to produce and is losing more than $40 million a year. That's unbelievable. So net, it takes in about 60. It's losing $40 million a year. He writes CBS execs had been mulling for a long time whether to pull the plug.
This is amazing for so many reasons, but culturally it's so indicative of it's another nail.
Megyn Kelly tore into this with the energy of someone who had been waiting years for the mask to slip. She reminded everyone that comedy is a meritocracy. If you're not funny, no amount of applause can save you. Stephen wasn't canceled for being controversial. He was canceled for being boring. No show, no matter how self-important, can survive being both preachy and dough. Greg Gutfeld didn't just mock Stephen, he mocked the whole culture that propped him up, the celebrity cameos, political rants, and curated outrage cycles. He called it what it was, performance art for the elite. When the audience stopped pretending to laugh, the illusion shattered. All that remained was a man, a desk, and silence. Both made it clear that Stephen didn't lose his audience, they bored them away. He treated comedy like a chore and viewers like students in a re-education camp. Every episode was a lecture, every joke a sigh, and every sketch felt written during a wine-fueled book club hosted by someone still mourning the 2016 election. Even his staff looked drained. You could see it in their eyes and hear it in the forced laughs. The kind of strain that only comes from pretending the emperor is wearing Gucci.
He's a terrible man. I really think he's just not a good guy. I mean, he completely took that show, which was a great sort of platform in nighttime television, and the Ed Sullivan Theater, and completely drove it into the ground. He had originally been at Comedy Central, where he was more comedy. And when he moved over to CBS, he decided to be more pundit. He desperately wanted to be Keith Olbermann. And guess what? Keith Olbermann is a failure. And now so are you, Stephen Colbert.
Megyn Kelly and Greg Gutfeld both agreed. You can't build a legacy on vibes alone. Sooner or later, someone checks the receipts, and Stephen finds just canceled checks and dusty cards. Megyn's sarcasm cut deep as she recounted his last desperate attempts at relevance. Dancing syringes, musical numbers about inflation, awkward political commentary, like a man photobombing history. Nothing worked, because when your jokes need a dissertation to explain, you're not doing comedy, you're hosting detention. Greg summed it up perfectly, comparing Stephen's show to a vegan burger, heavily processed, oddly colored, and only palatable to people pretending to enjoy it. His cancellation wasn't just a business decision. One stiff monologue at a time, Megyn and Greg reminded everyone why Stephen's collapse was proof that applause doesn't equal relevance. By the end, the only clappers left were either paid to be there or too polite to leave.
All right. Last Monday, Stephen Colbert tore into Donald Trump like a giant orange burrito. Now, before I roll the tape, I must warn you that it's very lewd, so turn it up so everyone can hear it.
You attract more skinheads than free Rogaine. You have more people marching against you than cancer. You talk like a sign language gorilla who got hit in the head. In fact, the only thing your mouth is good for is being Vladimir Putin's holster.
Now, of course, we had to bleep it, but you get the joke. He said Trump was having sex with Putin. Was it offensive? I don't know. I've done worse.
And just like that, Stephen's late-night legacy has been reduced to a punchline in someone else's monologue. One that, ironically, might actually get a laugh. And the best part? This roast is only getting started. He's now just another cautionary tale on the wall of late night's crumbling museum, sandwiched between Jimmy Fallon trying too hard and James Corden singing in traffic again. You'd think Stephen would go out swinging, maybe even reinvent himself, but no. He faded like a beige screensaver. He didn't just run out of jokes, he ran out of relevance. Megyn Kelly made it clear every speech he gave to a laughing crowd felt less like humor and more like a hostage situation. Greg Gutfeld didn't miss the irony, pointing out how Stephen spent years mocking others for losing touch while building an entire career on being out of touch himself. A man claiming to speak truth who wouldn't recognize it if it tap danced on his desk. Watching Greg shred Stephen's moral superiority complex was like scraping layers of smug off a chalkboard with a chainsaw. Brutal, effective, and long overdue. There's something poetic about a man who mocked cancel culture quietly being sunsetted by irrelevance. No outrage, no protest, just silenced, and worse than being canceled, being forgotten. Stephen's legacy won't burn. It'll just gather dust next to that dancing syringe costume, waiting for someone to remember why it ever mattered.